Test, test, test. Think that's working? All right, we're going to try the new one again.
I felt like 76 was moving at like per hour, like 2 miles an hour. Makes me wish I just took a train to skip all that traffic. Dai yada dai yada dai dai dai. Yai yada dai dai dai. Yai yada dai yada dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Same thing. Yai yada dai yada dai dai dai. Yai yada dai dai dai. Yai yada dai yada dai dai dai. Dai 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 dai. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im shevet achim gam yachad. Yai yada dai yada dai dai dai. Yai yada dai dai dai. Yai yada dai yada dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai.
Shabbat Shalom, almost Hag Sameach. It is so wonderful to be with congregants, friends, and guests and family as we gather together to celebrate Shabbat. Welcome to everyone in the sanctuary and everyone joining us online. Let's ensure that we are praying as one community tonight. Please introduce yourself in the comments, in the chat, or if you're here in the sanctuary, find someone new to greet and wish them a Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Your name?
Gabe.
Gabe, good to see you again.
It's been a minute, but yeah. Hello, Shabbat shalom. Yeah. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Gabe.
You probably love it.
What happened to Tom?
Jello, you could.
You're just
I know.
Are you watching until the service? I was in the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah,
I'm not going in until this. I left.
it was a good win. Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Is John here too? Player?
He's playing a wedding game.
Oh, really?
Playing a wedding game.
Your mom here too?
My mom's in New York. That's what he said. He just gets your mom.
A big fan, your mom. How's everything else?
All good. How about you?
Same. Talk to Sue Lerner at all? Having fun at
I think so.
the Rocky?
I think it's a stupid show, but she's hi. I'm good. How are you? Joe goes, are you playing tonight? I said, no, I'm just playing to it. Anyway, I'll see you later.
Good seeing you, Mark.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We are so excited. Tomorrow morning, Michaela Haas-Orenstein will be called to the Torah as she becomes a bat mitzvah. Mazel tov, Michaela, and to your whole family, your parents, Martine Haas and Mitchell Orenstein, and your siblings, Max and Maya, who both became B'nai Mitzvah here not that long ago. We are so thrilled that Michaela and her family are leading us tonight in our Shabbat blessings, beginning first with the candles on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
And the Kiddush can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam porei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת לחיים.
Mazel tov, Michaela. We're so excited to celebrate with you and the family tomorrow. Thank you. On Sunday night, we're going to begin the festival of Sukkot. One of the reasons we're given for building these booths, these temporary huts, is that our ancient Israelite ancestors dwelt in something similar, perhaps, on their journey from Egypt to the Promised Land. A student recently asked me, though, where did the ancient Israelites get the wood to build their sukkahs? It's a great question. Of course, the rabbis already thought about this, and in a famous midrash, sort of, rabbinic fan fiction, in a famous midrash, they say that actually it was our patriarch Jacob who generations before knew he needed to plant cedar trees. He got a message from God that our ancestors would need these trees. At some point, you don't buy it now.
Oh, sure, good.
It's midrash, it works. Just go with it. That knowing one day they would need these cedar trees to cut down to build their Sukkot. Now, whether this is true or not, the message of the intergenerational nature of not just this holiday, but our entire Jewish experience is something I think that's just so beautiful. I witnessed this throughout the High Holy Days with grandparents and grandchildren sitting together, having honors together, and I think especially now in Shabbat, a Shabbat which is a moment set apart in time, perhaps a timeless moment in which we're both connected to past generations, as well as a taste of the Messianic age, of the future, our sages say, when we're also connected to the future in this way. And so we take a deep breath and release, looking both back to those sacred generations on whose shoulders we stand today and looking forward to those future generations this Shabbat. We join together in song, beginning on page 11, Elech Hamda Libi.
Elech Hamda Libi, 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 Elech Hamda Libi. Chusana ve'al natitalam, Chusana ve'al natitalam, Chusana ve'al natitalam, Chusana ve'al natitalam. Elech Hamda Libi, 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 Elech Hamda Libi.
Continue in our Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms on page 15, the last two lines in Hebrew, Hariu Ladonai.
Hariu Ladonai kol haaretz, Hariu Ladonai kol haaretz. Bitzchu v'ranenu v'ranenu v'zameru, Bitzchu v'ranenu v'ranenu v'zameru. Oh, oh, oh. Hariu Ladonai kol haaretz, Hariu Ladonai kol haaretz. Bitzchu v'ranenu v'ranenu v'zameru, Bitzchu v'ranenu v'ranenu v'zameru. Oh, oh, oh. Ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto, ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto, ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto, ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto. Hariu Ladonai kol haaretz, Hariu Ladonai kol haaretz. Bitzchu v'ranenu v'ranenu v'zameru, Bitzchu v'ranenu v'ranenu v'zameru. Oh, Ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto, ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto, ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto, ki tov Adonai le'olam chasto. Hariu לאדוני כל הארץ. הריעו לאדוני כל הארץ. כל הארץ. כל הארץ. כל הארץ.
The sages created the Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms to prepare us, to get us ready to really enter into prayer. And I feel ready. That was rocking. We continue with Lechado D on pages 20 and 21.
לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד ישמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי. אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה.
Please rise.
בואי בשלום עצרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה.
Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence of the divine. We continue with the Baruch Hu, our call to worship, on page 28.
Lai la lai 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 la lai 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 ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד. המבורך, המבורך לעולם ועד.
In the middle of page 31, we read together, "This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim." And on the top of page 33, together, "As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael."
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת.
Continue reading responsively on the middle of page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Page 40.
Lay, 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 lay. Lay, 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 la, lay, lay, la. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We continue with the tefillah on pages 46 and following. Please rise.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל, אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We join together in our blessing for peace on the top of page 61. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. We take moments now for silent prayer.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, Adonai, my rock, my redeemer. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru, ve'imeru, amen.
In a moment, we'll be on page 253 for the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. On Yom Kippur, we cracked open our souls. We became vulnerable. We recognized our brokenness. And now, as we prepare for Sukkot, Zman Simchatenu, our time of rejoicing, we begin to heal some of those wounds. We do the work and we go back into this world. In some ways, I like to think of Sukkot as that big hug that we all need after bearing those souls and being so vulnerable. Sukkot also reminds us to hakarat hatov, to recognize the good in our lives when we spend so long on Yom Kippur thinking about all of our faults. To heal, one way is to begin to think about all the goodness that we put into this world and the goodness that those do for us. And sometimes we all just need a big hug. So if there's someone who you are holding in your heart tonight in need of healing, mind, body, or spirit, I invite you to write their names in the chat or to speak those names aloud at this time.
מי שברך אבותינו אברהם יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. אל נא רפא לה, אל נא רפא לה, אל נא רפא לה, אל נא רפא לה. מי שברך אבותינו אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים.
In addition to celebrating Sukkot this coming week, we also honor a secular holiday that we have embraced in our Jewish calendar, because this Tuesday is National Coming Out Day. And we'd like to honor that with a prayer. And it just so happens that, of course, Mishkan Ga'ava, this book where pride dwells, a celebration of LGBTQ Jewish life and ritual, includes a blessing from Rabbi Denise Eger, which combines the blessing of Coming Out Day and the blessing of Sukkot coming together on one day. Isn't that lovely? So it's already here for me. This blessing honors the tradition of, in the Sukkah, of welcoming guests. It could be guests who are with us in this world, or it could be ancestors who have come generations before us, who we welcome in their spirit and in their wisdom. So, holy ancestors, on this National Coming Out Day, we invite your presence into our Sukkah. Give us the strength and courage to name ourselves as you have named and acknowledged yourselves. Bring into our Sukkah the blessing of openness as we open our eyes to our God-given nature. Let truth dwell among us, the truth we speak and the truth we are. Support us in our fight for justice as we seek equality in our lifetime. Fill our Sukkah with laughter as we rejoice at this season of happiness, gratitude, and joy. Instill in us the pride of being our true selves. So with gratitude for National Coming Out Day, we also open it up to the congregation. Perhaps there are blessings in your life worthy of gratitude. Perhaps in this past day or in this past week, there's something that you'd want to share. So feel free to call it out. Did you have something to call out? Yes. Mazel tov. Yes.
My older brother and a girlfriend of his just gave birth to their very own child, which they named Arlo.
Beautiful. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Jordan? Thank you. Thank you. For me too. David? This will not be the first season that the Phillies have come up for Shehechianu. That's good, but it's special when they do. It's special when they do. And
They won right before services started.
are you saying there's a connection between services and the win, or? Oh, God is mysterious. Mitchell, please.
I'm super pleased to welcome so many relatives here to visit and to celebrate my daughter's bat mitzvah just coming up.
Mazel tov. Wonderful. We're excited to celebrate with you. It sure is coming up, huh? Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Wonderful blessings, and for the blessing of being together in person, online, all of us who share this Shabbat together. We turn to page 344 and join together in our blessing of gratitude.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'yigi'anu lazman hazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'yigi'anu lazman hazeh.
Amen. There really is something about the Shabbat right after Yom Kippur where it just feels like this is the immediate family. I love it. I love it. Last Shabbat, Len, that's my husband, was walking on the sidewalk on South Broad Street, just maybe a little over a mile south of here, and he was wearing his Pride allyship rainbow Kipah, and someone he passed who he didn't know on the sidewalk just said to him, "Hey, you going to Rudder Shalom?" And we loved that. We got such a kick out of it. And you know, he loves his Jewish pride, his all pride, right? And to connect that with explicit Jewish values and Jewish ritual, we both find really important and meaningful. And it had me thinking about how very deeply meaningful it is when we're able to find meaning in the ritual, perhaps some of the original meaning or meanings. There's always more than one explanation in Jewish life, but to find meaning in the original symbolic purpose of our rituals, and then also to add that layer of it could be updated Jewish values and justice values. First, just a moment on the purpose of ritual. You know, not all of us, I think, find the same reason for, let's say, communal prayer or wearing a kippah or lighting Shabbat candles or whatever your rituals of connection may be. I'll add a few of the ways I find it meaningful. For instance, in prayer, there's gathering as a community. That's one reason for our ritual. I'll say another is to find that time to carve out where we can tune into our intention and internalize the Jewish wisdom, the Jewish teachings that we've studied. Find ways to intend to enact those teachings. I find Jewish ritual is my time to take a breath and not rush through gratitude and a sense of spirituality, of being a part of something greater than myself. All things that I can get without ritual, but usually don't take quite enough time for without this carved out time together. For myself, when it comes to the ritual of wearing a kippah, I really like the tradition that the kippah is a symbol of humility. So I'm not always so sure about what I think about God. It changes often, but I know I ain't God. And so that kippah is a symbol of limitation, of appropriate limitation and definition, and I think an invitation to do all that we can with what we have and know that we're only one person. But I get the added, that comes from tradition actually, but I get the added meaning that when I started wearing a kippah decades ago, it wasn't common for women to be wearing a kippah. And so for me, it also has this bonus of bringing the symbolism of feminism for my own practice. There are lots of Jewish rituals where I think we're adding a layer. For instance, what do we do when we're gathering for Purim? I will always associate you with Purim, Michaela, because of that terrific Megillah reading last year. When we gather for Purim, we use those old groggers, but we also use what as a grogger? The pasta box, right? And then we donate food to help those who are experiencing food insecurity, which actually helps people, and it adds the message, right? We can't avert our eyes from the injustice in the world when it's in our hands and we're shaking it in our Jewish ritual. Last week, or a week or two ago, for Rosh Hashanah, for Tashlich, for the ritual of casting our sins symbolically into the river, so that we may hope that once we do teshuvah, repentance, they won't return, those patterns won't return to us. The tradition has us throwing breadcrumbs. Turns out they're not so great for a duck's diet. And so we've gotten some wisdom from more current science that better to throw a little leaf or a little twig so we don't introduce something unnatural into the environment. Again, a way to embody the ritual and maintain the original meaning and then add this layer of an additional Jewish value that we can take into our lives and into our actions. Well, I'd like to introduce a couple of Sukkot added layers of meaning as well, because we have a new one we're going to embrace this Sukkot. First, from the past, a blast from the past. You may remember an historical change that we made in adding a Jewish value to our Sukkot practice some years ago. Do you remember many years ago, we used to have an indoor sukkah on our bima. It was beautiful, glorious, right, on the bima. And you couldn't not enjoy it, right? It was just this really beautiful and beautifully designed sukkah inside, right? And I mostly loved leading from it, except once in a while there was a little spider coming up the microphone, and I'm convinced I was allergic to the whole thing, so I was usually sneezing. But it was beautiful and inspiring until we realized that we were learning more and more about how important it is to be tuned into the fragility of nature and the natural world and the fragility of our own lives in that symbolism. And the sense that actually our care for climate and our responsibility to the climate is rooted in Jewish spirituality and in Jewish teachings that the world is not ours, the world is God's. And we do not have control over everything. We have responsibility for it. And so, more and more, the sukkah, as beautiful and glorious as it was on our bima, became actually a hindrance to the message we were trying to promote. And so eventually we decided really our energy and our resources and our teachings should go to our outdoor Sukkot. And we create several of them so that every night of Sukkot, we have different communities from within Congregation Road of Shalom having dinner in the Sukkah, which is a wonderful way for us to experience Sukkot as a congregation. Well, we have a second way that we are adding change around Sukkot this year. First, the backstory. Exactly a year ago, it was at a bat mitzvah on a Saturday morning. Some of our Road of Shalom teenagers came up to me after the Shabbat service, after the bat mitzvah. They followed me out of the sanctuary, holding up the Shabbat program and pointing to the information about building the sukkah that was listed in the program. And sure enough, it still said, as it did for many years, men of RS will be building the sukkah. RS women will decorate it. Here are the times you can come help. And they said, wait a minute, you've been teaching us Jewish feminism for years. This seems to go according to old gender stereotypes and put us into these boxes, and you tell us that we should have choices in our gender, and this doesn't seem like it's really within our Jewish values. Well, I guess our teenagers have been paying attention in Berkman Merkaz Limud, so good job, religious school teachers. So after that happened, we started thinking around here, how can we think about this differently? We've been grateful, actually, to the men of RS for taking on the responsibility of building this sukkah. It's my favorite holiday, probably because it means Yom Kippur has just concluded. And we've been grateful to RS women for decorating it. And so we don't want to lose what's working, the incredible richness of our Sukkot practice. And yet, those teenage girls had Torah in them that could not be ignored. I'll interrupt the story for a moment. This teaching comes from a Talmudic scholar, Rabbi Rachel Adler, from her 1988 book, Engendering Judaism. Here's what she says. Jewish liturgy is prayers. You could also say ritual. Jewish liturgy is not like sedimentary rock in which discrete strata are neatly laid down in historical order. It is more like conglomerate or pudding stone in which chunks of various earlier rocks are suspended like nuts and raisins in a cake. A new liturgical field does not cover over its predecessor and deposit a completely new layer. The dilemma for feminist Jews is that virtually all the chunks in the conglomerate were created exclusively by and for men. Yet, rejecting the conglomeration as a liturgical process and creating totally new liturgies representing the spiritual insights of our own time and gender entail sweeping away the accumulative webs of covenant made possible by conglomerate liturgy without offering an alternative means of fulfilling its covenant-maintaining function. We can find an answer to the feminist dilemma in the nature of the ritual process. The most effective innovations in liturgical ritual transmute familiar and deeply embedded meanings, metaphors, and forms through processes that unify the communities to which they belong. If that was a little nerdy, at least it had cake in it, so, right? So can you picture it, right? The nuts and the raisins are floating in the cake. We have this tradition. I've been saying added layers. Rabbi Adler would say, not so much layers, right? But it's this different kind of mixture where we maintain the tradition, we add the newer understandings, the newer values of our times, and that makes the whole thing more complete. So here's how we're applying that this year. We don't want to give up our glorious Sukkah and our festival of Sukkot and our gatherings. And so we want to enter Sukkot with a way to maintain that tradition, a way to maintain that covenant, and also add new understandings. So Stephen Scher and I, our membership manager and I, did some reading this year and learned about other congregations actually also asking similar questions and wanted to understand with sensitivity what it means to think differently with our congregants. Also because there is value to gender affinity groups. We just don't want to pigeonhole them into stereotypes. Rather, think of Sukkot as not a small affinity group experience, but actually the Sukkah building as a core Jewish experience, a ritual for all of us. So, with gratitude to the men of RS and RS women for coming along with us and partnering with us, we are going to do community Sukkah building. And we're grateful that the folks in those groups remain committed to helping make that happen, to maintaining their responsibility as they open the door so that we can really all participate together. So I encourage you to check your program, that I am correct now, that we're going to have a community building, Sukkah building, and the information is in here for you to participate. And I assured our teenagers that that change was made and that they helped to make it. And maybe it shouldn't have taken this long, but I'm grateful that we are somehow cultivating teenagers who, in this complicated world, are learning their Torah and are finding ways to apply their Jewish values to their Jewish practices and advocating them for all of us to learn their Torah. May we find layers of meaning or nuts and raisins floating in it, finding layers of meaning in our deep roots of Jewish tradition and in the newest, most updated ways that we can always remain just and relevant. Shabbat Shalom. We continue in our prayer books with Aleinu on page 282 and then 287. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. I'm thinking of the Holocaust resistance roots in our bat mitzvah girls' family history as I share these words of resistance fighter Chana Senesh. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. but the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. One of our congregation's lights died this week on Yom Kippur. After a long and full life of 96 years, Dulcie Pomerantz Ram died while watching Yom Kippur services with her family. As her family will be making arrangements for us to gather at a later time, we warmly welcome back to the congregation Patty and her partner Tony, and Betsy and her family if they're online. Dulcie served on our board for decades when it was not so typical to be a woman on that board, and volunteered in many areas of congregational life, including religious school, High Holy Days, and sisterhood. Anytime I called or visited in her later years, she wanted to know what was new in the congregation. Her heart was always here, and we honor her memory. And this week, our congregation observes yahrzeit for the following people on whose shoulders we stand: Helen C. Bacharach, Minna Bacharach, Estelle Bandler, Sophie K. Blatt, J. B. Beneman, Harry Bichot, Philip J. Blankensee, Rose Wolf Block, Florence W. Blumenthal, Ronald Boyask, Sidney Broder, Stanley Irving Browd, Harry Bookbinder, Sally Bookbinder, Sarah Comoson, Linda P. Charleston, Abraham Chorney, Stanley Chorney, Joseph Chudnoff, Albert M. Cohen, Celia Cohen, Herman Allen Costo, Julie H. S. Daniel, Abraham Diamond, Maddie Gerasi, Minnie Edelman, Beatrice Ehrlich, Rita Eisenberg, Samuel Jonah Ellman, Sophie Edelson, Ruth Feld, Eugene S. Felderman, David N. Feldman, Melvin Finn, Keith Fish, Alfred P. Fishman, Adla R. Friedberg, Morris Fuchs, Adam Gershon, Ann Gold, Harold L. Goldberg, Elizabeth Greenberg, Maurice Gross, Paul J. Gottman, Irma Hallow, Henry Hirsch, Henry Walter Eisenberg, Clara R. Jacobs, Zelda Jaffe, Abe Jaffe, Marcus M. Jastro, Harold Joseph, Henry P. King, Irene Kligger, Tilly Cobb, Samuel Korn, Irving Krakow, Henrietta Krumholtz, Arthur Lefko, Abraham Leopold, Alan Lerner, Jenny Robinson Levinson, Elizabeth Levi, Jean Levin, Louis Liebman, Cecilia Steinberg Lowenstein, Solomon Lowenstein, David Mandel Jr., David I. Martyr, Henrietta Mayer, Eugene Michelson, George Miller, Irene Moses, Hattie Newman, Eleanor Wiener Niemann, Leon J. Obermeyer, Herman Obermeyer, Hyman Poland, Samuel H. Popkin, William Rosen, Edna Stern Rosenblatt, Ellen Schreiber, Abe Schwartz, Sophie Selbst, David J. Sickles, Hanch Sickles, Peggy Hahn Sinrick, Joseph Sinsheimer, Harry Stanley, Dorothy Blumenthal Stein, Isaac Stein, Jacob Sternberg, Sonia Gross Steifel, Bernard Stauman, Frank Tapper, Charles H. Vendig, Arthur Viner, Louis H. Weinberger, Valentine L. Wilson Sr., Helen N. Wise, Benedict Wolf, Ruth M. Wotes, Lowell Yemen, Edith Zitwer. We add the names of those who've been taken from our midst, but not from our hearts, in these most recent days, for whom we observe Shloshim. Stanford Gross, Edward Glassman, Edwin Cutler, Eileen Pardes, Thelma Rubin, Helen Shakora, William H. Simon, Joel Winnitz, and Dulcie Pomerantz Ram. If you are observing Yartzeit or Shloshim for a loved one whose name we did not call out, please feel free to add it to the comments or call it out now. Together we honor their memories as, turning to page 294, we rise for the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Devarach Rute v'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal Shemei d'kudashah b'rechu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring comfort to the bereaved and peace to each of you. And together we say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'yimeru. Amen.
If you are new to Road of Shalom, please be sure to introduce yourself to Stephen Scher, our membership manager, who is waving at you from the back of the sanctuary. And a reminder, there are great opportunities in that Shabbat program. In addition to Sukkah building information, there are great opportunities to help get out the vote. Also, not too early to make your own voting plan. And if you will be unable to make it to the polls that day, like the folks who will be with me on the Morocco trip, please take this moment, or right after Shabbat moment, but very soon, time to arrange for a mail-in ballot so that you don't miss your opportunity to vote. These words from Israeli poet Leah Goldberg. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha b'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha b'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless us and keep us.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha.
May the light of God's Spirit shine upon us and be good to us.
Yisa Adonai פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
May God's presence be with us and bring us peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.
Always a pleasure, Joe.